I'm Cody Crabb,
I'm Johnny Flores.
and we are the hosts of the Podcast Producers Survival Handbook.
The Podcast Producers Survival Handbook is here to help podcast producers, editors, and audio engineers succeed while freelancing.
Hello, our many loyal listeners. Nice to see you again. We've been going for a while. We're actually getting some episodes out. This is good.
Yeah. We've been out there in the trenches digging the podcast episode trench. I don't know where I'm going with that.
Well, I've actually had a couple people reach out to me and say, "Hey, I found your podcast. Nice job." So it sounds like people are starting to find us. So that's really good. But
Oh, awesome. Nobody has
really awesome.
contacted me about that.
Well, I'm just more popular, and I've got, well, to be really fair, I just have a better social media presence
Yeah,
than you do.
that's
So that's
true.
what it really is.
Mine is just dogs. So
Yeah. Hey, you've seen social media. That's not exactly a bad strategy.
that's true.
We have a special episode today, a really special episode,
Yeah.
actually. I'm really excited for this one.
Today our guest is Kiffanie Stahle, Friendly Legal Eagle. And I've talked about Kiffanie many times on different episodes, and and Cody in private about I had reached out to her through my sister who cuts hair. Kiffanie specializes in entertainment law, would you say?
I like to say creatives, mostly because I don't do television and some of the what's traditionally grouped into entertainment kind of the bigger category.
see.
But yeah, so artists and creatives is more like that small business kind of niche. Yeah.
Yeah. And but yeah, I have talked at length and hyped you up, Kiff, about just I had hired you to write a contract for me because when I first got started, I was using just a generic one off of LegalZoom or something like that. And then I knew as part of my somewhere in my the 3 to 5 year stretch, I was like, I got to find an attorney that can write me a legit contract because I know I'm not covering my butt and I know I'm not covering my clients' butts. There's a lot of butts that need to be covered. And,
Assets need to be
and then, my
protected.
sister-
Yes.
Yes, yeah. And so I
Well
reached.
done. We're going to get along just fine.
That is
yeah,
the
so my
subtitle of my book, How to Protect Your Ass, ETS, without legal confusion.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That is so good. Part of the reason I was like, Johnny's like, "Hey, should I reach out and see if she'd be willing to do an episode with us?" And I said, "Yes," because I want to ask her all the questions. Forget our audience.
I just want my
just
personal
wanna
questions
talk to
answered.
her.
Yes.
So yeah, I probably will have a lot of the questions that our audience would have. So that's really good. But thanks so much for joining us today. This is really going to be super helpful because I think a lot of people that are in our position tend to focus more on the actual podcast side, like the audio editing and the actual day-to-day work, but not so much on the stuff that comes with just generically running a business. I mean, we've talked before about how you tend to be your own payroll department and you tend to be your own HR
You wear all the
department, and
hats,
you
most
tend to
definitely.
do
Yeah.
right. Yeah. And so, I mean, you can't be your own legal department.
You can.
You're not
You just
qualified.
might not be.
Well, you can, and I have and do, and it's not a good idea. Is what I'm
Well,
actually
I
saying.
mean, I think that there are a
Um,
lot of things you can do yourself. I
Sure,
think
yeah.
that a lot of it is you don't know what you don't know. And the benefit of
Right,
coming
yeah.
to someone like me that specializes in working with people like your audience is that we have hundreds of experiences that we can say oh, so-and-so did this wrong. You probably don't want to repeat that. Because people come to us when things go wrong most of the time. They put it off for as long as possible. And then, unlike Johnny, they have a bad experience with a client, a really bad experience. And then they say, okay, I got to fix this. I've got to have a real contract. And so, when you do the intake and you say, why are you coming to me? They tell you the terrible experience that led to them making the phone call. And so not only do you hear all of those, but then we as lawyers like to talk about the bad things that our clients do. And so then you have the experiences from my 100 other attorney friends that, you can distill so that you have, some really great experiences and some things that you want to make sure you can protect your client for so that they never have to deal with that situation.
All right. So I just to kind of start us off here. So let's say, I'm sure you're going to hear this a lot, or you do hear this a lot. I also hear it a lot in my position. People that are like us going, okay, sure. But like, do I actually need a contract? Do I actually, I'm a nice guy. They're a nice person. Like we can work something out. So what would be your response to someone that said, I think I can get by without it and avoid all this expense of an attorney? Like what would you say is some of the
So I
advantages
would say that
of
you're
working with an
creating a
attorney?
contract not because you think the other side is going to screw you over, but because you want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So when we go into a project, especially as experts, we have this whole host of industry standard things that we assume our clients know, but they don't actually know that. And so a contract is going to help everyone get on the same page by literally getting everybody on the same page. So we don't
Literally, yeah, they've
need,
signed the same
like,
page.
and I like to tell people, like, a contract doesn't have to be a 20-page thing stuffed with legal jargon. You can form a contract by having a call with a client, sending them an email afterwards that says, here's a bulleted list of everything we talked about. This is what the scope of work is. This is what payment's going to be. This is how our relationship's going to work. Hit reply if you agree and say yes. They hit reply and say yes. That's a formal contract I can take to court and enforce.
Oh,
It
wow.
doesn't have to be, yes, it's nice to have a more formal one that clients sign that has the legal jargon in it that protects you from some of these other things that could go wrong down the line. But that's all you need to have a valid contract that I can take to court. And so,
Mind
See, I didn't
blown.
I
I
didn't
didn't
yeah,
know
know
that.
that.
yeah,
Yeah, me either. Well, and it makes sense because that's kind of how we treat it as professionals. Like we'll go, no, you agreed to like we act like it is a contract, whether it's that
yeah.
formal
And
or not.
so, and so a simple email exchange. Now you need them to say yes. You need that reply of that agreement because basically all a contract is an offer. I will do X for Y. An acceptance of that exact offer. Your client saying, yes, that sounds good. And then a promise to exchange things of value. You promise to deliver your services. They promise to pay on the schedule that you've outlined. That's all that's necessary. That's the only three elements required under contract law for a valid contract. Certain kinds of contracts have to be in writing to be valid. That's why, and then we don't have the he said, she said. That's why I always say, let's just shoot it back to them in an email. Because again, the whole point of the contract is to get everybody on the same page. And so if you just leave the conversation with one understanding and they leave the conversation with another understanding, then we're never going to find that out until it's too late and the relationship starts to sour. So that's why just following it up with that little brief email. I mean, even if it's just like we've got an ongoing contract and this is going to be a new scope of work for like, this is, a new little sub project you want me to work on. Here, the scope of work is going to be this email. Here, we just talked about it. This is what it's going to be. We're going to add it to our existing contract. That's all we really need in order to have it. Because again, why we're having contracts is not because we're going to get screwed over. It's because we want to have long-term relationships with people, successful relationships. And so we need to make sure we're on the same
Yeah.
page and not unintentionally
Yeah.
disappointing our clients because they had an unrealistic expectation or an off-base expectation about what we
Of
were
course.
going to do.
Yeah, and see, I think a lot of people can kind of the right kind of person does kind of end up getting away with not having a contract for a while because you are very clear and you can communicate well. I think not that you don't need a formal contract, but like I think people tend to get away with it more when they are extremely clear about their expectations and what they're offering and stuff. So, I mean, I'm gonna ask two questions in a row, Johnny.
Yeah, go for it.
So I guess if someone wasn't going to hire an attorney or they were adamant or they don't have the budget or just they were like no, what is the number one thing you would tell people like me to fix now that is like so dumb that you can't believe people actually do it? Like what is you know what I mean, like the low hanging fruit that like just start doing this
So the low
today?
hanging fruit usually is that follow-up email. Let's make sure that documentation and the call to action of that is hit reply and say yes if you agree. That's the low hanging fruit. That's the easy, simple thing you can take away from today of like, this is one thing that I can do to improve my business is bullet it out, have them hit reply and say yes, and then document somehow, save that in a place, print it as a PDF, save it in a place, do something so that you have
Yeah.
a record of it. That's the super low
Yeah,
hanging fruit that you
I
can
think
do today.
that is so true. And I think, I mean, this is what I do with clients. This is a little tip for anybody that I have a really bad memory. And so what I tend to do is I'll like transcribe every single call that I'm ever on. I'll record it and I'll transcribe it. And then I'll throw it in like an AI and be like, summarize this call. Right. And then I'll send it to the client in an email and be like, here's everything that we talked about bullet by bullet. And just as like a, I know you've
Well,
seen
and
this
so
kind of way. Like
then
we,
your call to action, the thing you're going to add to that is the call to action of hit reply and say
right.
yes if
Yeah.
you're on the same page. This is what we talked about.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they
Yeah. I
don't know
love
you've
that.
gone through
That's
this
such a good
process
tip.
to actually transcribe and to, do it,
Right.
to clean it up. But yeah, so then we've got a valid contract because we've got an offer. This is what I say we're going to do. This is the promises that we're making of the things we're going to exchange. And then the client has said, yep, I agree. That's my understanding. And we've got a valid contract right there. And it's in writing because we've sent it over email.
I was gonna throw in real quick, too, that I think someone new to freelancing or new in the creative field, why you would want to talk to someone like you and eventually hire them to make a contract is I work with clients now that won't work with me if I didn't have a contract in place to show them like, hey, I will do this work. I'm guaranteeing you, through this contract that I will do the work for you at this price. There will be penalties if you don't hold up your end of the bargain, just as well as there will be penalties for me if I don't hold up my end of the bargain too. So I think that's a consideration that maybe newer freelancers or new creatives don't think about when they're like, I can get, I don't need a
Right.
contract
No, I
right
mean,
now.
the investment pays off in the kinds of clients that you can work with. I mean, there are kinds of clients that there are definitely clients once you get to the next level that are going to say, we use our contract, your contract. I don't care about your contract. It's our contract or no contract. There is that other tier of client that, especially once you start to have big corporate clients that have in-house legal departments, they're like, we've got pre-approved contracts. These are our independent contractor agreements. You use ours or you don't use one. And there can be some negotiation of like these kinds of clauses need to be inserted into yours because you've never had a podcast before and you don't know that these are the kinds of things that can come up in this situation. But yes, I definitely think to Johnny's point, there is a professionalism that goes along with making that investment to show your clients that you're a professional, you're running a business, you're treating your business like a business, and that they can expect that you will perform like a professional. Yeah. And give them peace of mind that these are
Yeah.
the things, I can take this to court. My attorney can take this to court. If he doesn't deliver, my attorney can take this to court and enforce it and get our money back or, get these ramifications can happen so that we're protected if he doesn't live up to his end of the deal.
See, and I'm not going to say that every client that is like sketched out by signing a contract is bad, but I would say that there are way more clients that are sketchy are going to be like, I don't want
Yeah.
to sign anything.
No, then I totally agree. Like clients who refuse to sign contracts, that is a huge red flag. Like if a
Yeah.
client won't sign a contract, there's when I first was getting ready to open my law practice, because I'm a licensed attorney, and then I've got the Artist JD, which is kind of educational products for DIY products for creatives around this kind of stuff. When I was first getting ready to do it, I was interviewing every business owner I could. And one of the interviews I did was a guy who owned a tattoo shop that was around the corner for me. I lived in San Francisco at the time. And he has a moleskin notebook that he calls his shit I'll never do again book. And hopefully swearing is okay on the podcast.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
If not, you can bleep that out and people will know what it is. But so when I opened my firm, he gave me my own shit I'll never do again moleskin notebook. And in it, he writes down
That's great.
all of those lessons that you learn. And so in there, I've got so many things that over time I've realized are red flags in clients. Like when clients come to me and they want me to sign an NDA before I even talk to them. It's like, do you not realize what an attorney is? Like everything you tell me is confidential. Like signing an NDA is it's completely pointless. Like certain things, like when, like I do all my work as a flat fee and people, the full amount is due up front. And, the people who really want to like bargain and negotiate and do all of that kind of stuff, it's like, I can tell you're going to cause problems and we're not going to be able to work together very well. And so I've got all these red flags over time. And one of them is like when people don't want to sign a contract, I actually have the excuse of saying, California State Bar requires me to give you a contract and you to sign it if our engagement is for more than $1,000. Period. It's required by my ethics rules. I have to so you either sign one or you don't. But you guys don't have that excuse. And so, but clients who really push against it, like they're pushing against it because they don't want to hold up their end of the market.
Yeah. Or they don't know how standard it is. Like they either are like planning on skipping out, or they're just like they don't really get the
Right. And
process. So they might be a little more
it's
like,
a lot of education, I think, of like talking to the client of like, I'm not doing this because I'm trying to lord over you or I'm trying to like force a way of working. I've found, because I'm a professional, I've found that, these are the ways that we can make our working relationship easier. And so a contract is just one of those pieces that's going to give you the information necessary to let us have a smooth working relationship. That's all I'm trying to do here. So it's not that I'm trying to force you into something. It's not that I'm trying to, pass a fast one on you. It's that I don't want to unintentionally disappoint you. And so a contract is one of those ways that I make sure that you understand what I'm in charge of and what I need from you for this to be successful.
Man, you can tell you've done this before because like
I've
that
been
specific
doing this
wording
for more than a decade, and
very
I have
clearly,
figured
right?
out
Yeah,
how to say
that
things.
specific wording is very that would be very convincing to me if I didn't know, because I like that you're bringing them into it. Like, no,
Right.
this
No,
is for
and
you
that is
too. Like, what
number
if I
one
don't do it?
negotiation tip
Yeah,
that
yeah, that is so good.
nobody ever talks about. You always figure out a way to spin it so it's in their best interest. So why is signing this contract in their best interest? So that they can hold you accountable if you don't hold up your end of the deal.
That's what I tell as soon as I send the contract over, I always let them know. I'm like, just so you know, you have protection clauses in here if I don't hold up my end of the bargain, just as I have them if you don't hold up your end. They, it's yeah, and they feel much better about that. As whereas the old generic client contract I had it had nothing in it. It was
Well,
just
and I
gibberish.
think, part of what's different about, Johnny's contract that I wrote for him is that I don't use the standard form. I don't use that all of the stuff is really buried in the contract. I put those things, when I was in law school, like I came up with this new way of writing a contract and I tried to get my boss at the law firm I was working at to buy off on it and he wouldn't. And it was, I just want to put those things that change project to project that the clients really care about. I want to put that on a cover page kind of thing. And then we've got the legal fine print.
So why wouldn't you?
That
Yeah.
is the stuff that hopefully we never have to look at beyond the back. And so clients can really quickly see this is the timeline. This is the payment schedule. This is if I miss an episode, this is what's going to happen. If I have a late episode, this is what's going to happen. Like all of those common things that are going to come up. That's on the nice little cover page that has pretty much zero legal jargon. They're going to own the copyright. That's on the cover page. I'm trying to remember what else is on Johnny's cover page. That's probably, yeah.
One of the things you put on there that I had thought about is you wrote into the contract points so that if a podcast I help make or create or
Oh, yeah, we
produce
did royalty points for
picked
Johnny.
up by
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, if it gets picked up by a bigger
Brilliant.
entity or anything like that, I get paid for the work for helping them create this. They retain ownership, and that is actually a red flag thing, is because I've had people balk at that. I'm like, all right, well then, good luck. There's plenty of other producers out there that'll work on your terms. And and I've walked away from clients because of that. Or potential clients.
So we've got all those things up front. And then if the relationship things start to go south, then we've got the legal fine print that's behind it. But clients don't have to dig through to find out If I have a late episode, what's the fee? It's just right up there up front. When do I pay? How does that work? All of that's just right up there front. And that really not only helps you, but helps your clients and kind of, again, all these things to create smoother working relationships, which is what our goal of the contract is. Mhm.
Yeah. See, I'm a non-confrontational person, and every time I read a contract that I have to like sign, I feel like I'm getting yelled at almost. Like, you know what I
Well,
mean
you
by
mean
that?
that
Like, I
limitation
just
of
feel like
liability section that's all bolded and all capped in there? Like, yeah.
yeah, like if you're signing like a new lease on an apartment or something, like it's always like you feel like you're getting screamed at because you did the thing in the that they say not to do. Like, don't put candles on whatever. But like I think that's a really good idea because I think that kind of eliminates that a little bit. Like you're it, whether you're doing this on purpose or not, you're basically saying like, don't worry about this unless there's a problem. Like that's the stuff that if it comes up, it comes up. But this is
This
the
is the
stuff you need
stuff
to
we
worry
care
about.
about.
And
Like,
then if
as long
something comes
as
up,
we
then
can
yeah,
follow
that's
this
so smart.
page and a half, we're never going to have to look at those terms. Never. Mhm.
I love that. I'm gonna I even if I even if I have someone else do a contract or whatever, I'm gonna specifically ask that they do something like that because I think that's such a good idea.
Well, while we're on that topic, Kiffanie, you've been working on
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
some stuff for like to make it easier for people to get
Yes.
contracts, right?
So, one of the challenges of being an attorney is that you are licensed on a state by state basis. So, I can only help people who are based in California. And so that's part of the reason I initially created the Artist JD, which is kind of an education platform for creatives so that they can understand the law, but then also has DIY products. And I've got some contract templates. And right now, I am working on one for kind of podcast consultants. I already have one that's for podcast guests. If you want to have a contract that you can use with your
Oh
guests,
wow, that's good.
so that they can understand, what the expectations are. And that one's a simple, like one pager. It's super simple, but it includes things like one thing that people don't think about when it comes to podcast guests, just as a little side, which is a good piece of information, is that states have what is called rights of publicity laws. That I get to control how you use my name, likeness, or photograph to advertise your products and services. And so a podcast guest contract should include a waiver that says you give me the rights to use your name, to use your photograph, to use your biography to sell our podcast, so that you can use it in whatever way you want. And so
Dang, I would never have thought of that, and that is
Yes.
very smart.
And so I've got a podcast guest template that is just a simple one pager, kind of really simple agreement. And then I've got the longer one that goes through things like, the things that I've learned over time. It has points as an option. It has ownership, how ownership's going to work, different options there. All of those kinds of things that you can pick and choose the right clause. If it's a retainer versus a one-off kind of, you're just being hired for a season and it's going to be a set, or if it's a monthly retainer situation, you've got different options when it comes to those kinds of things.
When I love that because I do so many different things that like it would be really nice to have kind of a build it as you go, like you know what I mean, like have a bunch of
Yeah, yeah. And
pieces
I
and then just kind of
try to
throw
make
it together.
contracts so they're choose your own adventure kind of things so that, you
Yeah.
can really keep them as flexible as possible. All the contracts that I sell, how I help you is that they come with a video where I walk you clause by clause. Johnny's experienced this of walking you clause by clause through the contract so that you really understand exactly what it says. So if a client has a question, you can feel confident, okay, I can answer the question. I know Kiffanie told me exactly what that is, how that works. But then it also helps you pick the appropriate option for different situations. So that comes with it. And then because everybody learns differently, there's transcripts and there's, so that you can get the information in the way that makes the most sense to you. They're Google Docs, so you can download them and, customize them. So we'll give you guys it's going to be the Artist Courtyard /podcast will be the podcast bundle that they can go ahead and grab those templates if that's interesting.
Say nothing. I'm gonna I'm gonna
It's
go there
not up
right
yet.
now. I'm gonna be
At the
checking that
time
out.
of recording, it's
Uh,
not there.
yeah,
Yes.
it's not up yet. I'm gonna go there right now as you are listening to this, listeners. Right now. No, for real though, that is so awesome. And I think that is a crazy good resource because, like I said, first of all, like every client is different for me. Like I do different stuff, but also like, I like the idea that I'm a very DIY guy. Freelancers tend to be like that. Like we just want to kind of do stuff on our own. And like, how can I do it myself? Because it's just easier, quicker. Like I can just do stuff. And that really appeals to me because I can just kind of go, hey, this client doesn't necessarily need that clause. We can just skip that. And so that's great. That's fantastic.
So, and I mean, the downsides of, these kinds of templates is they're not customized to your working style. So like Johnny and I had a question about like, what's your working style? What are your red flags? What are all of these? And then I customized his contract to his working style. And the things he doesn't want to do for clients isn't even an option in his because we don't even want to go that down route.
In fact, I need to get back in touch with you because the first version was studio stuff, and I don't even have a studio anymore. That was part of it. I do everything remotely now.
Yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
so things change, things
Yeah.
update.
So, and,
You know,
like one of the things that I do that's a little different is that once I write your contract, I let you use it for a while and then you can come back to me and I will do a round of edits to it to make sure that it actually works for the
see,
way
that's
you work
fantastic.
in things. So, all of these little
That's such a
tricks I've
realistic
learned over
view
the
of
years
how
to
it
make
works. Yeah.
make the process a little bit smoother because I can't write a perfect contract the very first time. Like until you get the contract out in the real world, I'm never going to have, in my opinion, the perfect contract because, I'm making these guesses and assumptions about based on what you've told me, your working style is and who your clients are and where their pushback is going to be and those kinds of things. But we don't really know until you're using it. Like, are you going to get consistent pushback on this one thing that we really like, but clients might be like, no, that's not going to fly with us. Or, pandemics happen or situations change. Like I moved,
That's true.
in 2020, I moved into my RV full time and now I travel around the Western United States, me and the dog and the RV. And so the way I have to work with clients is different. And, so like life changes and then, our contract doesn't work for us anymore because of lifestyle and choices and those types of things.
technology
Mhm.
changes, the work environment changes. So many things evolve and change. So
I've actually thought I should probably throw a clause in my contract that says that I'm allowed to use AI because that's a whole can of worms right there. Like there's so many considerations that I've thought of like that I'm a little bit like I'm upfront with my clients, but I don't necessarily tell them every little thing. And it might be nice to just be like, well, I did tell you this like on the back side where, so
Yeah. And AI is a whole, its own whole ball of wax.
Oh yeah. We are planning a whole episode about that and I cannot wait for it because that's going to be fantastic. It's going to be me talking at Johnny for 30 minutes is what
Yeah,
it
pretty
actually is going to be.
well, Kiffanie, if you've given our listeners and Cody and me so much to think about, so many considerations. Like if people want to follow up with you, if they want to follow you on social media, if they want to reach out, get these contract templates from you, like how do they go about contacting you and following
Yeah.
you?
So the artistscourtyard.com/podcast is where you'll find all of those. The artistjd.com is like my main blog and those kinds of things. And I'll have a link from that podcast page so you can find it. I'm not too much of a social media person. I do have the handles, the artist JD on Facebook and Instagram, and I am myself, Kiffanie Stahle on LinkedIn, but I don't really post all that much. That is definitely one of the like, moving into your RV and having to simplify your life, living in a 22 by 8 foot area, you really have to simplify your life.
I'm not glad. That sounds like
my ideal situation.
Like I could talk to someone for a whole hour.
My ideal situation is like sitting out off the grid. And so, internet is less reliable. And so, social media was just one of those things that went kind of by the wayside. And then I realized like it didn't really impact my business and I didn't really miss it. So I have some like auto schedule things that go out, but I don't do too much on it.
That's it. It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us
Yeah,
again.
thank
Like
you.
Johnny said, that was amazing help for both of us and for I'm sure our listeners as well. And as always, if you guys want to reach out to us, we are at podcastsurvival@gmail.com. And I'm at codycrab.com. That's my website. And Johnny, where can they find you?
FloresPodcastProductions.com, or if you want to shoot me an email, Johnny at FloresPodcastProductions.com.
That's the one. Thanks so
Yeah.
much. And this is, I don't know how to end now because I just felt like I did. So yeah, take
Yeah.
it away, Johnny.
Yeah, thank you, Kiff. Really appreciate your time, and yeah, it was money well spent hiring you to write that contract. I would do it again, and I always recommend people. I don't know if you've had any work come through from my recommendations, but I talk about you all the time in our like peers and professional circles. I
The
hype you
first
up.
time I met Johnny, I think you came up in the first hour that we talked.
Yeah.
So if that's any
Well, if you refer to anyone, it's secret, so I can't tell. They can tell you, but
Oh,
I
okay.
can't tell you. So yes.
Client
Good point.
confidentiality.
Good point. Good point.
Cool. Yeah, thank
Thanks
you for your
again,
time.
and
Appreciate it.
we'll
Bye.
catch you later.